Okay, so this is Aktiv. We're doing the Meet the Artist session now, where we talk to the artists, get a little bit of an insight into their mindset, into where they've been, what they're doing, and what they think about music in general, and just get a little slice of your mindset. So, if you want to introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are, and we'll get into it.
I'm Alyberry. I am a house and techno DJ, originally from Swansea, but now I'm living in Bristol. Been DJing for around about 2 years, obviously half of that is COVID. But so I'm quite fresh to the scene of DJing, but I have been working in the industry for years as a light jockey. So I have worked with some really great names and had the privilege of being in the environment for a lot longer than my DJ career has been. So just looking to push now for that DJ and here at Aktiv HQ. So
I was just going to say Aktiv HQ. I don't know if you can see it in the back here. We've got a lovely view of Swansea. But so first of all, you say you're a light jockey. Will you do that in Swansea?
So I started off in fiction in Swansea. I started off as a light jockey there. I did that for like 5 years. Funny story really, because I literally have no prior experience in it whatsoever. I just used to be a party animal basically, so I'd go out three, 4 times a week, always go to the same spots, go to fiction in the main room, and I just got to know the light jockey really. I just remember one time I was at the bar and then I was like, oh, I wonder what that guy does in the booth. So I went and asked him and sort of like led from there, which is crazy. And I just remember going back every night and wanting to know more about it and just loving music, so it drove me into it. And then I started working with him and learning the ropes, and then I got a full-time position there. And that led to a job then in Bristol Prism, which is a bit of a larger club, larger city, so it was a bit of promotion for me. And as I said, I've worked with amazing artists, worked with Bass Hunter, DJ Fresh, Joel Corey, Stickmen, all sort of meeting them and doing the lights for them, so it was just a huge introduction to the industry.
Bass Hunter. What are your thoughts on him? He's like one of those. He's like that. I don't want to say cult classic, but he's just I think we all loved a bit of Bass Hunter when we were younger. Didn't we? What's it like working with people like that?
Well, for one, he's crazy. Yeah. Absolutely bat crazy. He got me because obviously in Prison Bristol, I'm in the same booth with DJ, so I'm close proximity. Whereas in Swansea, I was the opposite side of the room. So there was that engagement that I was there with him. And firstly, the kid can sweat, honestly. I thought I could sweat, but Jesus, he was dripping with it, towels everywhere. But he got me to come on the mic and just say some cringy stuff, and I was just there. It was an absolute blast. Honestly, it was a blast, and obviously everyone loved his music and his classics, So that was a good one. It was a good one for sure.
What was the initial reason you got into DJing this? I know you said you were a light jockey beforehand. Obviously, being around the DJs and the vibe, I'm guessing, and things like that. But was there kind of what was the first time you kind of went, that's something I want to do?
Oh, well, literally, I've always been the friend of the friendship group through school, college, uni that had the playlist. Okay. With my little Sony Ericsson on bloody getting stuff off LimeWire and having that on my phone. I was always that kid in the friendship group. No,
Game changer.
That was, and so it just. That's always been for me like a huge part of my life and a huge part of my mental health. I always go to music, and it's just my sanctuary. So it always felt right, even though I went down the line of uni and business management. It always felt right to me to be in the music industry, and I think there was a part of me when I was a light jockey that I could see the room, I could see the environment, but I wasn't the centre of it. And I wanted to be one controlling that room, I wanted to be the one controlling that environment. And of course, I'm controlling the lights, which is a huge part of the club and of the atmosphere. But, when you could tell when I loved the song that came on, you could tell because my strobe would be going, I would be putting on this huge light show. And I just thought, as much as I love this and love being here, I want to be there.
Yeah.
So that just sort of, now I've crossed over to it and going full steam ahead for DJing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of lights as well, for the people watching this, it's blinding in here at the minute, so I should have put my sunglasses on, I think. So you've been doing it for 2 years. You said half of it's been through COVID. So first year, what kind of gigs were you playing? So you know, when you started, you know, were you doing like smaller gigs and things like that, or were you not doing anything at all? Were you just trying to learn and how to do it? What's your timeline almost? Look at this. Great, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, you know, from working in this industry, I had such a leg up in DJing because straight away I had DJs that were friends that I could learn the ropes from, and you know, as much as I always put my own style on it anyway, it's just nice to see how they do it. It's nice to see, you know, how they progress through the night. So I had that lock-in of knowledge straight away from being there and having the you know, the chance to actually learn from DJs that were already successful. So the first, like, obviously I was still a full-time night jockey, so for the first, you know, 6 to 8 months, I was just warming up for the DJs that I was friends with, doing the first hour, doing the first 2 hours, and doing that kind of slot for them in the big clubs. So, you know, Prison Bristol, I would like warm up for on a Friday night and get the crowd going, and that was sort of my first initial gig. And then I started doing a couple of underground events in Bristol, not many because obviously COVID hit. So I did a couple of nights at Taboo, and that lot was just again underground sort of, you know, house techie feel to it, and I think that's when my love for techno started to spawn, because obviously working in the mainstream industry, it was all the sort of main floor for the house sort of tunes that was playing, and I love that stuff. But it was at the events I was getting through mates in the underground scene where they were a bit more relaxed about what he played, that I then found like, right, I'm loving techno, so you know, that sort of deep sort of house techno, underground sort of beats, that's where I sort of thought, right, this is where I'm good, what I'm going to channel into my unique sound, you know. So that was basically it for me until COVID hit, and then from then it was all just sort of swapped. But if anything, it was a blessing in disguise for me, because I've had, you know, in 2020 I had about 10 guest mixes, a couple on the radio, and just some really good opportunities that have just, you know, grown and got bigger and bigger. So now I'm looking at, you know, getting booked at a festival and getting some good things going, and I wouldn't have expected that if it wasn't for lockdown. So actually, it really helped my progression towards being, hopefully, you know, full-time successful. Make the most of what you have, isn't it? You can't sit back and do nothing if you want something. So whatever you get given, you've got to work with it. So that's what my last year has been.
All of the day, that is. Love that. No, that's amazing. I think the fact that you've taken a negative situation, like obviously the last year and a half has been, you know, really bad, especially for nightlife, for the you know, this industry in particular, when you're talking about music. It's been hit massively, and you've taken that opportunity, like you said, to work on yourself, to work on something that you're passionate about, and use that time well. And that's a really great. It's important to do that. The way that you've done it, it's really, really good. So what is your with your festival then? So have you been booked for a festival, or was that just kind of in the pipeline?
So it's a fundraiser. It's not been released yet, so I'm not going to say too much. But yeah, it's going to be a really great event in Bristol that's set in like a castle, and they've got a huge production on it. So it's not you know, a festival that's been around for long. It's nothing huge, but it's a great start for me on the festival scene to get that booking. So yeah, that's definitely in the lineup. I've also got a festival in Hartlepool, which I've never been to before, but I've heard it's fun. So I'll be heading up there as well in this summer to again do a charity fundraiser. Most of them are for the NHS to say thank you, you know. So it's more of a kudos to that and just a celebration that we've got through it, I guess. But yeah, so that's in the lineup in the works, and other than that as well, I've hopefully gotten some residencies in place. Again, you know, I've got techno and sort of the house mainstream residencies come in, so hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, it's going to lift off for me after, and the hard work that I've done will be worthwhile.
I have no doubt that it will. Yeah, and I'm yet to hear the set now as well, so I wasn't here for the set, but I can't wait to hear it.
You missed it.
I know, I'm excited for that. So, what in terms of the nightlife then in Bristol, where you're living now, in comparison to Swansea, having grown up in Swansea, what do you feel about the nightlife in Swansea? What do you feel like about the nightlife in Bristol or across the, you know, not at the moment, obviously, because you know, it's non-existent. But in general, like, what do you feel is the difference between Swansea and Bristol? What do you feel like we could, you know, in Swansea could be done better? And, you know, where do you think it's going as well, the nightlife scene?
Yeah, I mean, there is a huge difference. There is, and it was a bit of a shock for me when I moved there, because I was not the choice, to be honest. It was just like, you know, where can I go? And it was just like these events come popping up, and you're like, Jesus, I've got to choose between 5. Whereas in Swansea, you've got a couple of big ones a year that you plan in advance for, book your tickets in advance for, and that's kind of it. Apart from the nightlife, I mean, Wine Street, I'll love Wine Street for my entire life. It's just, honestly, it's just the fact that you've got everything on one street. The vibe is inside and outside the clubs and the bars, you know, it just feels that. So that is missing in Bristol for me, but that's because, you know, I've grown up here as a student here as well, and that's been my love. As I said, is how it's got me into this industry. But yeah, on the whole, it is lacking in Swansea, and I think that they could look at some other bigger cities like Bristol and see the diversity that's there, and the choice with, you know, I was only saying earlier that, you know, that there needs to be more sort of daytime raves in Swansea, because we've got beaches, we've got the scenery, and that's what's great about Aktiv, is that you're utilising that, which, you know, not a lot of other people think to do in such a beautiful setting that we are in Swansea. To utilise that is, you know, key to having that diversity. So, I mean, you know, there's loads of work going on here at the moment, so fingers crossed for a good future for Swansea. But at the moment, the opportunities that are in Bristol are so much more for me than here. And again, with genres, you know, the genres in Bristol is mainly towards D&B, but you've got then that large house and techno crowd as well. So it's got that mixture of genres too, which you don't see here. It's very mainstream. There's a couple of select sort of clubs like Sin City that do their D&B, and they monopolise it because they're the only ones, you know. Whereas in Bristol, you've got such a big choice. But yeah, so it was a good move for me, really. But I would love to see Swansea be better and you know, have a gig here and see that growth, you know, that's needed, I think. But yeah.
Okay, and as a DJ, if somebody was watching this now or listening, and they want to become a DJ, okay, so they want to do what you've done, and they listen to the set and they think, yeah, I want that. What would be your biggest tip for that person?
Well, I never thought of myself as a mentor, Jesus. But
you know, that's the
question.
You're on the spot.
I would just say, like, networking, connections. That's just so key, and just make a good impression on anyone, no matter, you know, if you know that they're high up in the brand that you love, or if you don't know who they are. Like, you should still be making that effort to network and give that good impression, and that impression of your music that you want them to then remember, because you never know when your opportunities are where they're gonna come from. Like I didn't know I was gonna get this opportunity, and it came out the blue for me. And stuff like that you make through connections and networking and having friends in the industry. So, you know, I would just massively say, you know, it's not as much about your skill and your technique and your choices in genres. It's more about your people skills. So, you know, be extroverted if you can. If you can't, then make those connections with people, and that will lead to those opportunities. So yeah, that's a big thing. And just understand that it's gonna take a lot of graft, and you're gonna need to grit your teeth sometimes and just grit and bear, because some of the, you know, slots you're gonna get, you know, I DJ'd through a room of 5 for one of my first, you know, I was like, Jesus, why are you paying me to be here? You're making a loss straight away, you know. But you know, you've got to do that to build your own personal brand. So don't expect it to come like that. It's not going to. And still, for me, you know, I'll check out a really great mix, and I'll think, you know, that's going to do well, and it doesn't. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, and you just got to keep going. I've made myself hungry now.
I know, I'm not getting that pasta beforehand. Yeah, the pasta, I'm good.
Yeah, so I mean, take every opportunity that you get given, and as I said, don't be selective with who you network with or what gigs you take, and just be open to everything, and that will get you the best respect in the industry that you need to continue on. And yeah, so that's the advice I would really give, is that, you know, have that commitment that you're gonna have to sometimes take the losses, and you know, it will lead to some good things hopefully. So that's my advice.
That was good advice as well.
Yeah,
Thank you. I think we're
brilliant.
going to take a lot from that.
Yeah.
You know, because at one point I wanted to be a DJ
You want to be a
myself.
DJ?
Do you know what I mean? But
That's
I think what you've said there is good, because you know, you're talking about what goes on behind the curtain almost. A lot of people see you on the stage. You know, they see you, you know, DJing to 200, 300, 400 people, maybe you know, thousands of people, and they don't necessarily know the journey that it takes to get there. And I think, you know, it's important. Like, it's good, because what you're talking about is the, you know, it's not underestimating the journey. You've got to go on to do it. But the networking thing, I love that, because networking in any industry, in any walk of life, is so important.
Crossover skills from any, as I said, I did business management, so yes, you know, I was used to talking in sort of situations like this and being quite, you know, good with my words and my chat to people. But at the end of the day, if you've got a job in McDonald's and you've still got that customer service that you take across, and you just, as I said, you know, to be open-minded, don't shoot someone down because they're from a new brand and they've only got 100 followers on Instagram, and they ask you to do a gig and you're like, oh, I'm not going to get much publicity, because you don't know how big that brand's going to go. Yeah. So, and at the end of the day, what would you be doing otherwise? Just sitting at home DJing? You may as well take the opportunity and DJ in front of a couple of people and go from there, you know. So yeah, that's
taking the opportunities, grasping the opportunities.
That's it. That's it.
Last question then. So, having done a set for Aktiv, what does Aktiv mean to you? What does it feel like Aktiv means to you? What do you know? What do you think about the brand?
Oh well, I'm already in love, to be honest. So literally, it's something I've never done before. This is the first time I have had 3 cameras on me while DJing in this beautiful setting, and it just feels like so top quality already. You know, again, it's quite a new brand, but straight away, you know, it feels like this is going to be great. And as I said before to you as well, like, you actively utilising the surroundings, which a lot of people fail to do. Like, you walk into an underground club and you don't know what city you're in, because that underground club still looks the same from whatever city you are in. But being in such a beautiful place like the Gower and like Swansea, you know, utilising that definitely is just something so new that I've not really seen being done. So I think it's definitely one to watch, and I look forward to any other opportunities with it. So.
And I definitely walked out with some clubs not knowing what city.
Oh well,
yeah, definitely happened. No, thank you very much for doing the set and for coming on and having a chat with me after it.
Yeah.
So the set is going to be live on the 28th of April at 8 PM. Stay active.